In my playbook tonight, last November, Barack Obama cruised to victory, dragging a bunch of other Democrats into office on his coattails. But 1 year later, his influence on the voters may be waning. Obama's approval rating still very solid. They're at 54% in a new poll out today. But the widespread Democratic enthusiasm that swept the country last year seems to be slipping away. Let me bring in presidential historian Doris Kearns Goodwin. Doris, good to have you with us tonight.
Thank you.
Interesting exit polls in Virginia, 55%. In New Jersey, 60% of the voters saying that President Obama really had no effect on their vote today. Is that pretty normal?
I think it's absolutely normal. I think the coattails is a weird measure for 1 year after a president has taken office. The coattails that will matter will be 2 years after, obviously, when the congressional elections take place, because that'll affect the majority in the Congress. But much more important even than that is what have we learned in this 1 year about the strengths and weaknesses of the leadership style of this new president, because that's what's going to be with us in the months and years ahead. And I think we've seen he's steady and calm. We've seen he's poised. We've seen that when he gets to make a decision, he has information that he brings in, and he has strong voices that can compete with him. The real question is, have we seen an ease with the Congress? I mean, so far we could use a little more LBJ, I think, with Mr. Obama, threatening, cajoling. LBJ used to say, you got to court those congressmen as much as you court your wife. Start calling them at 6 in the morning, call them at 2 a.m. in the morning. And I think that's something that he's going to have to learn some more of. But we've seen a lot of learning and a lot of acknowledging of where he's going.
Presidential approval ratings this early on. The president seems to be in pretty good shape. In November of 2001, of course, George Bush was at 87% after the country was attacked. Clinton at 49. Bush Sr., Bush 41 at 70%. Reagan at 52 and Carter at 56. Obama is in at 54. Is that good?
Well, you know, I think, again, the approval ratings are not the marker. Look at Bush at 87%. And 1 year into his presidency, he had already made the decision to go into Afghanistan after September 11th. He did get the Taliban out of power, but he was making already the decision to go into Iraq, which would end up defining his presidency. He had not created a shared sacrifice in the country, which would end up hurting the country. So it's those things you don't see at the time. Like, for example, JFK didn't look that good in some ways. His approval rating was up, but he'd screwed up at the Bay of Pigs. His summit with Khrushchev wasn't very good. But he had learned from the Bay of Pigs that he had to make decisions in a different way, bring in more people, question, be more self-critical, which proved critical when the Cuban Missile Crisis occurred a year later. So it's those invisible markers that I think we got to go down a level from approval ratings or coattails to figure out how we feel about these characters.
And Doris, in the big picture, where does health care play in all of this? This is, you know, topic A for the Obama agenda. If they pass a bill, is this really what he's going to be remembered for in his first term? And how big would it be if he were able to get some sweeping reforms?
Well, I agree with what you said before. I think that health care, if it does become robust, if it's big and it passes, it'll be a signal to the people who voted for him that this really was an historic election. Right now, we're not feeling that. It was transformational for him to get in there, but that activist progressive movement is not out there knocking on doors and doing the things they did in the election.
So if they had
passed this, it'll be huge.
So if they had passed a bill before tonight, things might have been different, you think?
I think it would have given people a sense that, yes, we are in a moment when we can tell our children's children that we did something that no president has been able to do in 100 years. And that only gives you impetus then, okay, let's go for regulatory reform. Let's go for energy independence. And you need that step, I think, of progress to go to that next step. So if health care reform passes, I think it will change the mood of the progressive sentiment behind him and of the Democrats as well.
Doris Kearns Goodwin, always enjoy your insight and expertise. Thanks so much.
You're welcome, Ed.